Rain lashed against the glass doors of the towering Valen Group headquarters, turning the city lights into smeared reflections on the pavement. A young girl, no older than 16, burst inside, dripping wet, her school uniform clinging to her trembling frame. Her face was pale, her eyes red with panic. She clutched her phone so tightly it looked like it might crack. "Please," she cried to the startled receptionist. "I need to see Mr. Valen. It's an emergency." The guards moved toward her, uncertain. No one simply walked into Alexander Valen's building, certainly not a drenched schoolgirl. But there was something so desperate, so raw in her voice that the entire lobby froze. "I'm sorry, miss," one of the guards began gently, "you can't. They're killing her," she screamed suddenly, her voice echoing off the marble walls. "My mom, they beat her, she's dying." Whispers rippled through the onlookers. The girl's sobs echoed, raw and uncontrollable. Before anyone could respond, the elevator doors slid open with a soft chime, and a tall man in a black tailored suit stepped out. His presence silenced the room instantly. Alexander Valen, billionaire industrialist, investor, and the youngest self-made CEO in the country. Known for his ruthlessness in business and ice-cold demeanor, he was not a man easily startled. But when his sharp blue eyes fell on the girl, something flickered. "Mia," he said, his voice low and tight. The girl looked up, tears streaking down her face. "Mr. Valen, it's my mom, Rosa. They beat her. She's not waking up." Alexander's expression shifted, shock cracking his normally impenetrable composure. Rosa, his housemaid, the quiet woman who had worked in his mansion for over a decade, always polite, always humble, never complaining even when she worked late into the night. He moved instantly. "Where is she?" "At home," Mia stammered. "The landlord, he sent men. She tried to stop them. They said they'd make her pay, and..." "Enough." His voice cut through the air, sharp and commanding. "Get my car." He didn't look back at his stunned staff. "Now." The guard stepped aside as Alexander guided Mia toward the exit, his hand firm on her shoulder. Outside, the rain was relentless, but he didn't seem to notice. The moment the car door closed behind them, he said, "Tell me everything." Mia's words came out in bursts between sobs. Their landlord, a man named Dalka, had demanded payment they couldn't afford. Her mother had begged for more time. Instead, he'd sent men to teach her a lesson. They locked the door, hit her when she tried to protect their few belongings, and left her bleeding on the floor. Alexander's jaw tightened with every word. He was a man used to power struggles, but this was something different. Personal. When the car finally stopped outside a small, dimly lit house, Alexander didn't wait for the driver. He ran up the steps and pushed open the half-broken door. The smell of blood and damp air hit him. And there, on the floor, lay Rosa, pale, bruised, motionless. "Call the doctor. Now," he ordered, his voice trembling for the first time in years. Then he knelt beside her and whispered, "Rosa, it's me. You're safe now." The small, shabby living room had become a scene of chaos and urgency. Rainwater dripped through the ceiling, landing in shallow puddles on the cracked tile floor. Alexander stood beside Rosa's limp body, his white shirt splattered with mud and streaks of her blood. His private physician, summoned within minutes, arrived with 2 assistants carrying medical bags. They moved quickly, checking her pulse, setting up an IV, and wrapping the bruised arm that hung at an unnatural angle. Mia hovered near the corner, hugging herself tightly, eyes wide with shock. She just wanted more time, she whispered, her voice trembling. "Just one more week. We've always paid the rent, but this time he didn't care." Alexander turned his head slightly. "Who?" "The landlord," she said through her tears. "Mr. Dalka. He owns all these buildings. Mom begged him not to throw us out. She worked overtime just to keep up, but when she said she needed a few more days, he left." Mia swallowed hard. "Then last night, his men came. They said we had until morning to get out. She tried to stop them when they started breaking our things. One of them pushed her. She hit the table, and didn't move again." The doctor looked up at Alexander and nodded grimly. "She's stable, but she needs a proper hospital, now. There's internal bleeding. Then she gets the best care possible," Alexander said without hesitation. "Move her to Valen Medical Center. Private suite, whatever it costs. Sir, the hospital's not exactly nearby. Then fly her there," Alexander snapped. His tone left no room for argument. Within 10 minutes, Rosa was on a stretcher, loaded carefully into the company helicopter that had landed in the empty field behind the house. Mia clung to her mother's hand until Alexander guided her inside the aircraft. The entire flight was silent except for the rhythmic sound of the rotor blades. Alexander sat opposite them, his gaze fixed on Rose's pale face. He remembered how she used to greet him every morning with a soft, "Good day, sir," always smiling no matter how tired she looked. She never took a day off, never asked for a raise. She'd saved every penny for Mia's schooling. He clenched his fists. The thought that anyone had dared lay a hand on her made something dangerous stir inside him. By the time they reached the hospital, a team was waiting. Rosa was rushed into surgery, and Alexander made sure the best surgeons in the city attended her. He refused to leave the hospital until he had word. Hours passed. Outside the operating room, Mia sat beside him, her head resting against his sleeve. When the doctor finally emerged, exhaustion in his eyes, he said, "She's alive. We stopped the bleeding. She'll need rest, but she'll recover." Mia let out a broken sob of relief. Alexander exhaled slowly, tension finally leaving his body. Then his eyes darkened again. He stood, pulled out his phone, and said coldly, "Find this man, Dalka. And everything he owns." Within an hour, his legal team was in motion. By morning, Dalka's empire would begin to crumble, brick by brick. 2 days later, sunlight streamed through the tall windows of the private hospital suite. The once quiet beeping of machines now seemed softer, steadier, hopeful. Rosa slowly opened her eyes, her vision blurry at first. She saw white walls, crisp sheets, and then, sitting beside her, Alexander Valen, the man she had served for over a decade. She tried to sit up, but pain rippled through her body. Alexander leaned forward quickly. "Don't move," he said gently, a hand hovering just above her shoulder. "You're safe here, Rosa. The doctors say you'll recover fully." Her lips trembled. "Mr. Valen, I didn't mean for any of this to trouble you. I know you're a busy man. Please, sir, I'll return to work as soon as..." He cut her off with a firm but kind tone. "Stop. You've already done enough for me in my home. Now it's my turn." Tears welled up in Rosa's eyes. She had never seen this side of him, the man the world called ruthless, merciless, untouchable. She had seen him only from the edges of rooms, always distant, always composed. Yet now, there was something raw in his voice. Across the room, Mia watched in silence, her school bag still slung over her shoulder. Alexander turned toward her. "Your mother told me you're top of your class," he said. "She's proud of you, you know that." Mia nodded shyly. She wanted me to study, so I could give her a better life." He smiled faintly. "From now on, that won't be your burden. Your education, college, everything, it's taken care of." Mia blinked in disbelief. "Mr. Valen, I can't accept that." "Yes, you can," he said firmly. "Your mother worked herself to the bone to make sure others lived comfortably. I won't let that sacrifice go unnoticed any longer." For a long moment, the room was silent except for Rosa's quiet sobbing. She reached for his hand. "God bless you, sir. You didn't have to." "I did," he said softly. "Because the people who keep our lives clean and steady are often the ones the world forgets first." "I won't forget." That evening, as the sun dipped below the skyline, Alexander made a call. Dalka's real estate empire had already begun to unravel, his bank accounts frozen, his assets seized under investigation for fraud and illegal evictions. The man who had preyed on the poor was now the one cornered. News of the billionaire's actions spread like wildfire. Within days, social media exploded with headlines. "Cold-hearted CEO spends fortune to save Maid's life. Alexander Valen brings down corrupt landlord after brutal attack." At a charity gala weeks later, a reporter dared to ask him, "Mr. Valen, why go through so much trouble for a maid?" Alexander paused, his eyes thoughtful. Then he simply said, "Because kindness shouldn't depend on someone's title. Rosa cleaned my floors for years, but she taught me what it means to stand tall." Across the room, Rosa and Mia stood together, smiling softly. For the first time, Alexander Valen, the man once known for his cold heart, was seen for what he truly was, a man capable of warmth, loyalty, and redemption.